Hello children, how are you doing today? Today we are going to start again with chapter number 1, and this is the part 4 of the same chapter. So in the previous class we have discussed the different types of operating system. Now in this class we will learn what is a user interface. What do you understand by user interface? User interface means where two systems meet and interact with each other. For example, hardware and software. Hardware cannot work without software, and software cannot work without hardware, right? So these two systems meet and interact with each other. Once they interact with each other, that means we can get the output. So as written here and in your book also, as we know, interface is the point where two systems meet and interact with each other. Similarly, in computing, user interface refers to the hardware software mechanism by which a user interacts with the computer to pass instructions to it. We pass instructions using the hardware like keyboard or mouse, right? And then a software which is stored inside the computer, it takes your input, and then CPU processes your request, and again the hardware, which is a monitor screen, with the help of a software, it gives us the output. So this is known as the user interface, where two points or two systems meet and interact with each other. Now the next topic we have is the types of user interface. Now there are two types of user interface. The first one is character user interface. Now this character user interface is also known as command line interface. And the second type of interface is graphical user interface. Now the first one is character user interface. In this interface, the user type the commands to give the instructions to the computer system. How do we type the command? Using the keyboard. So this, as we see here, this interface requires the user to type commands in order to interact with the computer system. This type of interface is not good choice for the beginners, as they have to memorize a good range of different commands. We have different languages and they have the different type of commands. As you have studied in the previous class, like HTML and maybe Q basic if you have learned, where the user enters the command by typing it using the keyboard. We type the character, right? So this is known as character user interface, where we can give the commands by typing it, and we have to memorize all the commands which require to give the instructions. The next type of user interface is graphical user interface. Now this interface is graphics based and interactive in nature. Graphics means the computers or the mobiles which we are using nowadays. Do we get a small images with the names? So we come to know that this by clicking on this image we will open this particular thing. So different devices such as mouse, keyboard, etc. are used to interact with the system. You can click it with the help of a mouse on an application. Suppose you want to open a Microsoft Word, you double click on it and the Microsoft application opens up on your computer screen. So GUI is more user friendly as unlike CUI. So as user friendly, do you understand? You can interact or you can use it with ease very easily. But command user interface, where you have to memorize so many commands, and it does not require the user to memorize the command. In graphical user interface, there is no need to learn any type of command. You just simply go through the icons and click wherever you want and you get the output. Now here in GUI, instead of typing the commands, the user uses the different menus and options to communicate with the system. So the example of character user interface is Unix and DOS, and graphical user interface is Windows is the most popular graphical user interface. Any Windows operating system which we are using in our computer. Okay, now we will start with the next topic. I hope it is clear to you. If you have got any doubt, then you can comment in the comment box. The next topic is advantages of GUI over CUI. Now here some points are mentioned in graphical user interface and command user or character user interface. In graphical user interface, here we are looking for the advantages of graphical user interface over the character user interface. Now GUI interface is much attractive and appealing. Of course it is attractive because we can see the icons with the images. In CUI interface is relatively less appealing because we cannot see any icon. We just have to type the commands and commands. Point number 2, in graphical user interface, it is easy to learn and more user friendly due to the presence of various graphical elements like icons, menu, buttons, etc. So in graphical user interface, it is very easy to learn and use because so many graphical elements, icons, menu, buttons are there. But in character user interface, it is a text based interface. Text based interface means where we have to type only the text in form of commands, and hence it is not user friendly. It is very difficult to learn all the commands for everyone. The third point in graphical user interface is user does not need to learn the complicated commands, right? We don't learn any complicated commands to open Microsoft Word. What is the command? Now, but in character user interface, you have to memorize many commands to operate and control the character user interface. The fourth point in graphical user interface is graphical users have windows that allows a user to work, view, control and manipulate multiple programs and folders at the same time. You can do multiple tasks. You can work, you can see, you can control, you can manipulate, right? Programs and folders at the same time. But in command character user interface, it does not offer the same. So here in this character user interface, you cannot do multiple work at the same time. You can only do one work at a time. Now GUI, the fifth point is it supports the both the mouse and the keyboard, which helps in controlling and navigating through the system. Navigating means checking, scrolling up, scrolling down, moving left and right. That is very easy. But character user interface supports the use of keyboard, which helps in typing the commands. Point number 6, in graphical user interface, the graphical user interface, the user mostly gets immediate visual feedback of the action he is doing. Do we get the output immediately? Once you double click on any of the application, do you get that application on your screen? Yes. So it gives the immediate visual feedback. Now in character user interface, there is no obvious feedback. You may not receive any feedback after saving a file, after opening a file. If we consider the same example, the example which is mentioned in GUI, the user can see immediately that a file is successfully moved from one directory to another. We all know how to move a file from one place to another, and we can see the immediate effect in our computer. But the if we talk about the same example in character user interface, here you have to give one or maybe more than one additional commands to transfer the file from one drive to another, and then you won't see the effects immediately, visual effects, but you have to type the commands to check each and everything. Now point number 7 in graphical user interface is, in GUI multiple tasks can run simultaneously at a time, and in character user interface only one task can be executed at a particular point of time. Now in character user interface, as we have discussed I think in the previous points, that it can perform only one task at a time, but a graphical user interface can perform multiple tasks at the same time. We will quickly do the disadvantages of GUI over CUI. Now we have seen the advantages of GUI over CUI. Now the disadvantages of the GUI over CUI. The first disadvantage is GUI requires more system resources to load the various graphical elements such as icons and fonts. It requires more system resources, whereas CUI uses less system resources as compared to GUI, because it is only using the commands to type. Now in GUI is still a bit slower than CUI, as it uses both the mouse and the keyboard to navigate and control, but CUI uses only keyboard for navigation and operation, often resulting in faster performance. GUI occupies much larger amount of hard disk space as compared to CUI. CUI takes up smaller hard disk space. Fourth point, GUI requires more RAM to run, because we can do multiple tasks, right? But CUI does not need much RAM to run, because it runs only a single task at a time. So it does not require the speed. Next is GUI based operating system are more expensive, as users have to pay the license fee also, but CUI based operating systems are less expensive. So I hope this user interface, types of user interface, the advantages of GUI over CUI and disadvantages of GUI over CUI is clear to you all. So your homework is again sent by the SMS, and I think that we have completed almost all the question answers from the chapter, and we'll discuss the exercises like fill ups, MCQs and true false in the next class. So till then, have a good day to you all. God bless you.